We've got a question here from our buddy Nick, who's having trouble with the gi. He says that he is getting to the back, and he says that's kind of the position he's been working to, but he says that one of his buddies in the gym who has really strong grips is double, I dropped my phone, he's double gripping the sleeve, and he's hanging onto it so that the guy, he can't basically, so he's got the arm over here, and he's grabbing onto it, and he can't pull away. And he said he's wondering whether or not he should either just, give up on the gi and go to 10th Planet and start training there, or if there's a super cool technique that will help him get rid of the problem and be able to break the grip and then get to the position where he can attack the neck. And so first off, Nick, thanks for the question, brother. And I'm doing this video because I kind of have a love-hate relationship with the gi. Originally I came from wrestling, and so I didn't really like the gi, and I've had several situations over the years where I ran into problems with the gi. Now, I do have some techniques for you that can help you out with that situation you're talking about. But in this video, because I'll probably do those later on, but in this video I'm going to give you something I think that is a little bit more helpful than just the technique itself. And so I'm going to share a situation where I was having the same problem with the gi back when I was a brown belt. Okay, we'll take, because I've had several I can choose from, but one that I was having as a brown belt where I was wearing this Keiko Hasa gi, and the particular Keiko Hasa gi that I was wearing had this sort of big bowing out, like almost like a wizard sleeve, right? Really big sleeves, which I didn't like personally because people could grab onto them. But a lot of the guys who I knew who liked them for like Ezekiel chokes, they loved it. But I was rolling with my friend and training partner who's a black belt at the time. I was a brown belt, and he was hanging onto my sleeves, and I could not break them. And I got so frustrated with the situation that I just started, instead of trying to roll the wrist and break the grips off properly, I just started to pull and try to break them away. And when I did this, I got really irritated, got frustrated. I mentally broke, and then allowed myself to get basically beaten afterwards in better positions. Following this, when I got home, I washed my gis like normal, went outside to put them on the line, and I took this gi, put it on the hanger just like everybody else, or just like the rest of them. And then the next morning when I came out to pick the gis off the line after they've been dried, I left this gi on the line. I looked at it and I was like, fuck that gi. I don't want it, right? I was mad at the gi. It was almost like I was leaving the gi there as almost like punishment. Stupid. Doesn't make any sense, but that's what I was doing. I was like leaving the gi there. And I went back to the gym, and as you can imagine, I didn't have any more success with the other gis. Like, I didn't wear the big wizard sleeve one, but I was still having trouble with the grips and with other gis on. And this kind of came to make me think about kind of like where I was messing up, because I'd had the same problem years ago as a purple belt. Right after my first MMA fight, I had spent several months in just no gi training. And so when I came back to the gi, I experienced a lot of trouble with the gi. And in fact, I went to a tournament soon after I sort of got back into it and got choked out with a cross collar choke. Basic white belt move, but I got submitted by it. And it kind of made me almost want to just get rid of the gi, right? It's like, I'm done with this thing. I'm going to do no gi only and fight, screw the gi. But for me personally, then I kind of went back around and started looking at it like I'm being whooped by a piece of fabric, right? Not even a person. I'm allowing myself to be sort of beaten by a cotton jacket. And so I got pissed at that, and I was like, no, I'm going to figure this out. And just like when I first started doing jiu-jitsu, when I was a wrestler, I didn't like the gi at all, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to figure it out. And so I looked back at those situations that I had previously, and now I'm a brown belt. I'm still running into the same problem. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to figure this thing out. So I came back to the gym, and obviously it was not an instant fix, but I figured it out. Later on, I came back to pick this gi off the line after I'd realized that it wasn't the gi's fault. It wasn't my training partner's fault. It was my own fault for not fixing the problem and not fighting grips properly. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to take this gi off and wear this thing again, because it was a really pretty gi. It was a navy blue gi. It was gorgeous at the time, I thought. And I picked it off the line, and there were these two big holes in the back of the jacket. And what had ended up happening, as I would find later on, is there was a bird's nest. And the bird had taken bits and pieces of that gi and taken them and interwoven it into its nest. And so the bird had been picking on this gi, because I'd left it there for several weeks, had been picking on this gi during the day and had used that fabric to make a nest. And so now I couldn't use that gi because I got frustrated with myself, with the gi instead of myself. I'm telling you that not because there's some sort of moral lesson to learn from the gi, whatever, with the gi, but mainly just to share that I've been there before, and I've understand the frustration that you're going through. Here's what I would say for you. This is the thing that I think is more useful than anything, and because the situation that you're having with the gi, like this frustration, it's going to come in different forms. It might be the gi. It might be that no gi is really slippery and fast. I hear a lot of people say that who are primarily gi grapplers. It might be that the person's really big and strong and tight and you can't get away from them. Or it might be the person's really small and quick and they're fast and you can't pin them down. the frustration that you're having, it's going to come in different forms. And so the way that you deal with these different frustrations is going to be, is going to basically dictate how well you do in jiu-jitsu, right? Because if you don't deal with them in the right manner, then they're going to crush you. But if you deal with them in the right way, you can overcome them. And so everything that you do in jiu-jitsu, you can figure it out. And you have to start by changing your mindset first. And when you approach situations, it can't be, I can't do this, right? I can't break this grip. It has to be, I can break this grip, I just got to figure it out. And the way that I'll talk to my students a lot of times, because my students, when we're training, they'll say the same thing. They're like, man, he always gets here. I cannot break this, insert whatever it is, right? Or I can't beat this position. I can't do this, right? They'll say can't. And I fucking hate the word can't. And when they say can't, I instantly sort of always go back to this. And because this is the mental game I play in my head. I'll ask them, I'll say, hey, listen, if, insert some ungodly amount of like money, right? That you would need to be like just independently wealthy, never have to work again, never have to do anything again, right? That amount of money is sitting over here in a briefcase waiting for you to grab, but the condition is you have to break the grip. Could you do it? Right? Or let's say that, whatever sort of thing that you would love, like just like if you had one wish, right? Like the thing that you could have, right? The woman of your dreams, whatever it is, right? That is waiting for you right there, but you have to break this grip off. Could you break it? And of course you're saying to yourself, of course I could break it. Well, then of course, then you can break it. The ability for you to break it is there. It's the sort of the motivation that you have to go after that break, or the motivation you have to go after that sweep, or whatever it is, right? You have to change the way that you think. And so that's what I say to myself, right? A lot of times when I get in these positions, because a lot of times I get the same feelings that you do, where you don't feel like you can do something. And I instantly go back to my head, again, it's a mental game. I'll say, if everything was on the line, right? Could I break this grip? I'm like, yeah, I can break this grip. I'll find a way. And again, it's maybe not always instant, but it takes time, but a lot of times you do it. And one good example, and I'll leave you with this because I know I'm getting long-winded, but again, you asked the question and you know how I do things here, is I was working on a butterfly or a flower sweep. Flower sweep's a great sweep, right? But I didn't feel like I could do it. And so because of that, I was like, I'm going to do it. Like I was like, I don't like having the feeling of like, I can't do something. And so I dedicated myself to just doing a flower sweep. And so I rolled with everyone and put myself in that position. And I limited myself to that sweep, just that and that alone. Took me about 3 weeks, but eventually it started hitting. I started like hitting the flower sweep really effectively. I was like, all right. So my advice to you, going all the way full circle, Nick, is approach the situation with a mindset of problem solving, and I can do this, I can figure it out. Instead of saying I can't break the grip, I can figure it out. I'll post a technique for you sometime soon that'll go over the situation, but in the interim, in the meantime, when you get into those situations, you know it's going to happen, right? So instead of just simply getting frustrated by the grip, instead of saying like, man, I can't do this, be like, what could I do to work around this? What can you do? And then run with that, right? Run with that different mindset where you're going to figure this thing out. All right, I'm done talking. Nick, thanks, brother.